In today's video, we're going to be talking about hermits, Christian hermits. How's this all come about? Well, basically, if you watch the last video, I had a bit of an incident the week before that. And by the way, I still haven't seen a doctor, if you watch that video. It's been a couple of weeks now and I've had no problems at all. I will go, maybe get a blood test. Somebody left a comment, maybe you want to get a blood test, but there's been no problem since. And I started thinking about this woman. I've done an article on it on the 12 Gates blog, going into this hermits and anchorites and these sort of things, and what drives people to go into the wilderness and just live off the land. And most of them, they are these religious types, but not always. And I thought about this one in particular. She's called Agathia, and she's out, well, I don't know if it's Siberia or one of the sort of remote areas of Russia. This documentary, these reporters, RT reporters, I think was what I can make of it. They go out and they're in a town, and they go to get to it. It's 500 kilometers from this town up this river, the Tiger. It takes them 2 days to get up there. It must have taken them weeks the way they travelled. So they go up the river. It takes them 2 days to get there. Absolute nightmare journey. And she really is in the middle of nowhere. And they take all this special sprays to get rid of these flies and all the rest of it, ticks, which carry encephalitis. And this woman, she's been living there since birth. She's been bitten so much, she's immune to the all the parasites and the ticks and all whatever else is out there, the diseases out there. But it's fascinating. She's lived out there. She's nearly 70, I think, at the time of the video. She's certainly 70 now. I think it was May 2014, the video. But it's amazing insight. And a lot of these types, these hermit types, a lot of them, they seem to be Orthodox, Russian Orthodox. There seems to be a thing within that faith. It's a form of Catholicism, I suppose, isn't it? But Orthodox Catholic. And somebody did leave a comment, I think, I don't know which video it was on, saying the Orthodox way is the only way, and no Bible quotes backing up what they're saying. But if you are an Orthodox, this is for you. Am I promoting this? No, I'm not at all. But it's just another denomination as far as I'm concerned. But certainly you can learn a lot from it. But why am I making this video? I'm making this video because I think it's very relevant. It's very similar to the Chinese situation with the house churches and it's going undergrounds. And I think what's happening in China and what is happening with this woman here, she was forced to leave. She's one of the old believers of the Russian Orthodox Church. What happened was there was a big schism and there was major changes brought in, and a lot of things that were passed down through the generations from the true believers of the early days were forbidden. And they were, if you continued doing those things, then you weren't part of the new Orthodox Catholic Church, the Russian Orthodox. And the people that carried on doing this and carried on, they called old believers, which is what this woman is as well. She's an old believer and carries on the traditional ways handed down from very early times. But that situation there's persecution there, and basically she ended up living sort of in an isolated area. She's born out there, all her family's gone, and she's in her 70s on her own. She's got I think cancer, but it's benign, big tumour she's got, and she says certain things she does now, she can't, it just makes it worse, it just gets bigger, but it's benign. And I just thought about this woman when I was sick and in terrible pain, and I was in a city, and I was in a situation where I couldn't do anything, and there was nobody in the building. I couldn't get to the phone. It was, a couple of flights of stairs downstairs. I wouldn't have made it, And I thought about this woman. I thought, well, she is in the middle of nowhere, and her faith has kept her alive, isn't it? And she just lives off potatoes, and you see her there. She's fishing with nets, and she survived, But she's there in the video near the end, and she says, I'm getting older now and it's getting hard. She's chopping down trees for firewood and chopping down branches to feed the goats and all the rest of it. It's hard work, living like that. You're constantly on the move all the time. And there's loads of videos out there. But most of them seem to be Russian for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe because of that schism. And certainly I can run parallels with that with China, and I can run parallels with that with end times as well. That's why I'm making this video. You think, well, why am I talking about Christian hermits? Because I think that's the way things are going to go. If you look at China, there's a big urban thing going on, isn't it? And they're encouraging everybody to move out from the countryside and move into cities. They've been incentivized to move into the cities. Yeah, but when you move into the city, you start embracing the cashless society that they're trying to bring in, and the modern way of life, isn't it? Yeah. And it's what you're seeing there is the beginnings of the New World Order, isn't it? And what you're seeing in China eventually will be global, yeah? And what will happen is, I think, that Agathia and what you're seeing with Chinese people, they're going underground with their faith, the Christian faith, is it'll be the same. Even Agathia says, at the moment, Christians are enjoying their freedoms and they're not experiencing any major problems. Yeah, there's persecution around the world, but it's not on a major scale. Eventually those days will come to an end and those freedoms will be gone. Yeah, and it will be in the same situation as Agathia, and also what we're seeing in China, where it all just goes underground. And I think that's what's going to happen. There's going to be a division. As we know, it's mentioned in Revelation, it's mentioned in a lot of prophecy, but I think there's going to be this cities and out in the sticks, in the wilderness, and that's where the Christians are going to be. They're going to be living like hermits, but I think it's going to be communities, you know, and we'll have our own economy and everything, because I still think we're going to be here for a lot of it. Yeah, this end time stuff, we're going to be here, and that's what's going to happen. The cities will be the world, and they'll have all the modern day creature comforts. They'll be on the system, they'll have their barcode or whatever it is, and they'll be able to bank, they'll be able to buy and sell, as is mentioned in Revelation, isn't it? But in the countryside will be the Christians, and they'll be living in the remote areas, fleeing the persecution, and that's it. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. And that's why I think you want to watch that video, Agathia. You see her there, and that's the future. Yeah, only on a big scale, it's going to be like that. I think that's what's going to happen. At the moment, we've still got freedoms, and you know, you can quite freely say, yeah, I'm a Christian, you know, but there will come a time when you may be wary of actually saying that you are, you know, a true believer. That's what I'm calling it. That's what she calls herself, a true believer, an old believer. But watch that video. It's very important, I think, to watch that. There are some topics covered in there, like things like incest and things like that. You may want to fast forward through it. I don't know. But, you know, it's a pretty gritty video, but it shows you what it's like living like that. And I think that's how we're going to be living, you know, in those times. Yeah, we'll be living off-grid, basically. There'll be people on the grid with the mark, and there'll be people off the grid with no mark. They'll have a different mark, isn't it? And that's it. I just thought I'd share that with you. Getting back to the hermit thing, is that biblical? Yeah, when you get into the Christian faith, yeah, Jesus went into the wilderness and Moses went up the mountain, isn't it, with the Lord for 40 days, isn't he, and 40 nights. And from the point of view, he went up there twice, didn't he? He was in the middle of, you know, on his own, you know, the same thing. But and also the children of Israel, they were in the wilderness for a long period of time as well, weren't they? I don't think there's anywhere where it's mentioned in the Bible where it is recommended that people go into the wilderness and become like this hermit sort of thing on a permanent basis. Yeah, Christianity is very much a being together, being with others. It's more of a social thing, isn't it? Not something you go as a loner, you know. But what are your views on it? What do you think? Because I thought about this a lot. You know, just get the hell out. I wouldn't do the YouTube fat channel any favours, but just get out, get a hut in the middle of nowhere, no electric, and that's it. Just draw closer to the Lord. I've thought about it many times, but is that the way to go? Because that's the other thing, isn't it? As Christians, doesn't matter who you are, we are supposed to spread the gospel, isn't it? That is our prime objective, advancing the kingdom of the Lord, isn't it? If you go into the wilderness and divorce yourself from the world, then how can you reach the world and spread the gospel, isn't it? Spread the good news. That's the thing, isn't it? I can see why these people do it. They want to get away from the world. We're not supposed to be part of the world. Yeah, no, we're not supposed to be part of the world, but we live in the world, but we're not part of it. That's the way we're supposed to live, isn't it? We do our everyday jobs, we're there, and all the rest of it, but we have to be in the world, but not living as the world and not being part of it, isn't it? But it's certainly an interesting thing, a very appealing lifestyle. Just get away from all the, you've got different pressures, haven't you, when you live like that, you know, things like health, you know, you've got to cure yourself, hasn't it, or put your trust in the Lord, like I did that night. But I thought I'd share this with you, and you know, so this is something to chew over. Anyway, this is Frank of the 12 gates. Keep your eyes firmly fixed on the Lord, and peace, love and joy.